Every day here with a tank guide for the hard mode Underlooker fight in Temple of Sacrifice. This video is from the point of view of Salim, a power tech tank. So this fight is notorious for being pretty consistently bugged, and the bugs after every patch seem to be a little bit different. So hopefully it won't be too many more iterations of this, but as a result of that, most of my tips won't revolve around handling the mechanics as they are live, because unfortunately that guide would be obsolete reasonably quickly. Instead, I'll go over each of the basic mechanics and what each of the tanks can bring to make those mechanics easier. So the basic mechanics are, first, these three adds that you saw all the DPS and the tanks killing. They slow the entire group on hard mode, so it's important to get these down before the next mechanic starts. The next mechanic being these rocks falling from the ceiling. Once they all land, green rectangles appear behind them, and you have to hide inside them. After that mechanic, the boss should explode, knock everyone back, and then jump to the furthest person away, at which point he'll turn and walk back to the tank who's holding him, and perform that cross called Devastate. As a tank, you're either going to be on the front or back of that cross, and on hard mode, you have to swap who's in front and who's in back every time. So we taunt coming out of that cross just so the boss is on a different tank every time he goes through and does the add phase. So the most important mechanic for this, and the biggest check for the rest of your group, is going to be killing those adds. If the adds don't die, it's very difficult to get to the rocks, and people will just die to the Rage Storm. So as a tank, the best thing I've found is you can drag the boss on top of one of the adds, or in between two of them. And if there's any splash damage from anyone in your group, it'll help DPS the boss down while they're just entirely focused on the adds. So this helps with the overall fight and rage timer, while ensuring that DPS can just focus full-time on the Lurkerling adds. As a power tech tank here, you see Salim dropping Oil Slick on the adds. This tends to reduce the damage that the boss is doing at the same time, too, as long as you're positioning properly and you're coordinated between your tanks, which allows healers to help damage the adds here. You see Salim popping Hydraulics a lot, and you can pop Hydraulics at the end of this cast here to avoid the knockback entirely. Depending on exactly how the fight's bugged, that may or may not be advantageous, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. Assassins can also avoid taking damage from the last tick of Rage Storm, that knockback, just like the power techs can by popping Hydraulics, if they use Shroud or Resilience. The cross mechanic actually is really well suited for the power tech tank, and the Juggernaut tank too. The shield from the power tech tank's AoE taunt, although everyone in your group has to be sort of close to the boss to get the shield, will reflect all the damage from that final attack in the cross. So you can fail a cross and still have everyone in your group survive if they were close enough to get the shield. If you have two power tech tanks, like in this comp, or a tank and a DPS, you can guarantee having that shield up every time. Although if you just have a power tech DPS, they can reasonably, as long as they aren't doing too many instant crosses like this, get that shield every time as well. So you see there, this particular iteration of the boss, the cross would come out instantly after Rage Storm if the tank was in melee, so the sniper DPS there couldn't make it into range to get in the cross, and that's what led to failing the mechanic. So power tech tank seems to be very strong for this fight because Oil Slick does a really good job reducing damage from these adds, and it actually allows Salim to stand in melee range of the adds, typically, and melee DPS will see this particularly, but other tanks will also see it. The adds will do a lot of damage to whoever's in melee range of them if they have aggro on them. As a tank, you're doing increased threat, so even though your damage isn't amazing on the adds, oftentimes you will have aggro on them, or a melee might have them, and in that case, the adds will be just doing a lot of damage to you, and if you have the boss on you at the same time, that can actually cause some trouble. So it's important to have a cooldown up if you're doing that, although Oil Slick does a really good job mitigating that. So at this point, we've handled the mechanic enough times that we're just burning the boss and ignoring the adds, and you should get a feel for your group's DPS to know when you can make that call. Because after the fight's over, it's pretty trivial to handle these adds, even though they're going to slow you down. Good luck with this fight, and I hope you can get it down without too many bugs and too much frustration.